So good morning all. Thank you for joining us this morning. What we're going to be talking about today is we're continuing our Googling God series. So for this episode, what I'm very thankful to talk to you about is not feeling it. So what is not feeling it? Not feeling it is you've been disconnected. Maybe you were on fire a while back. Now you're drifting away. Some of you all may not even know what not feeling it is like. So I wanted to go over some of the signs that you may have that you're not feeling it. One of those things is obvious, is you've not thought about God in a while. Another is you possibly could be annoyed with yourself. Things that are going on that you're really just taking really internal and just upset at yourself. Maybe that's a sign that you're not feeling it. Maybe you're not feeling it because you just know you're not there where you want to be in your life right now. Maybe you thought that you should have been somewhere else, so you're just really distracted and not feeling it. The number one thing that came to me when I know that I'm not feeling it is I'm annoyed by those Christians around me. And we'll talk more about that. But I know if I'm around Christians and I hear them praying, talking about God, and real fired up about God, and it's annoying me, then I definitely know I'm not feeling it. So we're going to come back and talk about that as well. But also, is not feeling it, is it really a big deal? We go through seasons in our life. I'm not hurting anybody by not feeling it. I'm not outwardly negative to people when I'm not feeling it. I'm not outwardly negative to people in the church. So is that a big deal? Also, maybe we were on fire a few years ago. Surely that was good enough, right? Maybe I'm just going to coast through this time of my life. I'll just play it nice and easy, and I'm confident I know I'll pick up God later on. But right now, I just want to coast on through. So is that good or is that bad? Well, I'm here to tell you it's a little of both. Yes and no. No, not a big deal, as we all go through peaks and valleys. The main thing is that we need to recognize that we're in that valley, and then we need to do something about it. The yes to that is it is a big deal, because in life and with God, we're either committed or we're complacent. God desires us to be committed. When we are committed, we're engaged and we are active. We're living our best life. But the real rub is this. In relationships with God, with our spouse, with our children, our friends, relationships are always moving. Nothing is stagnant in this world. We're either moving in a relationship or we're moving out of a relationship. And that is the big key point. So if we're not feeling it, what do you think? We're drawing farther away from those relationships. So what I want to talk to you about today is what 3 things that we can do if we know we're not feeling it, or maybe we don't even know that point. But what are 3 things that we can do to grow closer to God and really get into feeling it? That first thing that I think everybody needs to know is realize that you are enough. That's very, very important. You got to get your mind right. You are who God created you to be, with your own set of personality traits, gifts, and talents. Sometimes in life, all we want to do is we want to focus on our faults. And when we focus on our faults, we take our focus off God, nothing is going to be positive about that. Through Jesus, you are absolutely good enough, and you're equipped enough to do what God called you to be. So when you feel like you have to measure up to those around you, when you're feeling like you aren't good enough, I want to bring your attention to Romans 3, chapter 3, verse 23 to 24. It's, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God and are justified freely by His grace through the redemption that came by Jesus, through Christ Jesus." Also, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. "For we are all God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." So God is supporting us. God is backing us at all time. Whether we are young men, old men, young women, we are all good enough. You were born to be excellent in God's eye. And every day that you wake up, you need to wake up knowing that you're a 10. Your self-worth, your inner being, your soul comes from God. God designed you as a 10, and you are a 10. Do not fall into the trap of believing you are what people assign to you. and that's what I want to talk about. People will assign you roles, okay? Roles such as I'm a parent, I'm a spouse, I'm a worker, or heck, I'm a youth football coach. All those take a mental toll and allow you to be judged by others. Each role can make you feel less than what you truly are, or conversely, giving you an inflated self-worth and ego. That inner being, that's your 10. That's what God provided for you, and that's what you need to focus on. But if you are focused on those roles throughout your life, your identity is tied up in, let's say, being that youth football coach. How does your life look like? Is it high? Is it low? Your soul high could possibly depend on if you had a decent run game and a great offense and a defense. Well, that's probably not going to be a long-term outlook for a youth football coach. After a bad loss, you feel that you drop from a 10 all the way down to a 3. And when you're that 3, whatever role that is, do you feel that you can be right with God? Do you feel that you can be right with your family? Even after multiple losses, do you think, man, what is the point? I've just disappointed the kids, the parents, my spouse. Started putting in work. There's no need to disappoint one more person, and that extra person is God. So when you think about roles and you think about what people can assign to you, that's where you get in trouble. Your true self-worth comes from God, and that's that inner being, that's that inner soul, and you're always absolutely a 10. Jesus is the exception to everything that happens. You're always, always good enough. Falling into the traps of roles by just trying to please others, when you do that, you paralyze yourself. That life is boring and leads to absolute failure. Got a pro tip for you. You do not need to go out and buy a 300-page volume book and read it and spend hours and hours on trying to help that inner being. There's one book I know you can absolutely buy, and it's probably not the book you're going to think about, but it is my pro tip for you. It is Max Lucado's children's book, You Are Special, and it's $8 on Amazon. You read that book, it'll get you up to speed, it'll tell you everything that you need to know, and it is a great story, and I promise you it's a life changer. So if you really want to learn more about identity, want to learn more about roles and what people can assign to you, go buy that book, you'll thank yourself for it. But end note on that is to get out of a rut, you must be willing to prop yourself up. Jesus is that tool to get you on the right track. So if we're just not feeling it, that first thing that I want you to know is that you're absolutely good enough. That second thing that I really want you to focus on, really start looking at, is you have to lean into the relationship with God. By doing that, it's going to take an investment of your time and an investment of your attention. I'm going to repeat that. To lean into a relationship with God, it's going to take an investment of your time and an investment of your attention. You have to make the decision to go where God is. Tell you a little hunting story. When I started hunting, I just thought I could walk out into the woods, lean up against a tree, and I'd magically be successful. That's not the case. Once I started talking to actually experienced hunters, I found out a lot of work and a lot of attention had to go into. You had to put yourself where the animals you were hunting are going to be. You had to study, you had to put your time and attention, and believe it or not, once you start following that, seeing where those animals are going, then you're going to put yourself in a position to be successful. The same thing here, lean into the relationship. So Brian, what does that look like? Well, first of all, you have to make a plan and you have to be intentional. Not everything that we do when we wake up in the morning is going to fall into a nice tidy box or to-do list. You're going to have to be flexible. Understand, secondly, that you have to account to where your time goes. If you're a morning person, can you get up early? Can you spend time in the Word at that time? Can you spend time after work when you're working out, running on the track, doing whatever you want to do? Do you need to close yourself off right before you go to bed and have some time studying and knowing where your time is and paying attention that way? It is up to you. It changes for everybody. It could possibly even change during the week. But you have to make sure that you're spending that time and taking that time and being intentional with it. Second thing that you need to do is you need to study the relationship. I have a question for you. Before you go anywhere, do you do anything without pulling up TripAdvisor or any kind of reviews? Probably not. Go in and study. Go to the source of where God is, and that is the Bible. And I would even say that the Bible is probably one of the original first account TripAdvisor reviews. You have first-hand stories, first-hand reviews of everything through Jesus' life. Go in there and study it. Lean into it. How do I go about doing that? Do you just grab that Bible, crack it open, and start reading? You absolutely could if you wanted to. You want to start from Genesis and work you all the way through Revelations? You probably could. But if we're really not feeling it, is that the way that you'd probably want to go about it? That's the way I didn't do it. And I've been in certain times where I certainly wasn't feeling it. And how did I get out of that rut? Or when I'm in a rut and I know it, how am I going to go about it? Just different things that you could do. Take a topic, take a word, take a phrase, take a Bible verse, and just see where that leads you. When you look at that Bible, it's going to look overwhelming. There's a lot of pages in that. And if you're really not feeling it, you're probably not going to jump to it and start, hey, I'm going to crack this open and read it cover to cover. Probably not going to happen. Break it down into little chunks. Take that Bible verse, take that phrase, and just study it. Jump around from all the books, Old Testament, New Testament, and honestly have fun with it. And you absolutely can do that. Here's my second pro tip. If looking at that Bible is very, very overwhelming, maybe you don't have a Bible, maybe you want to just crack in the door, second thing you can do, go out and get a children's Bible. When I had kids, we bought a children's Bible, and I was like, hey, I'm going to read it. I was up to speed like that, and so can you. They're great stories. That way you can read it, get involved, get a good baseline of what's going, understand what's going on, and then once you get to that, I'd say adult Bible or study Bible, you already have a good baseline. So pro tip number 2, don't be afraid to read a children's Bible. It'll get you a far way. Third thing I want you to look at if you're not feeling it is you got to plug in. Find a community, find a church that you can fellowship in. Give it time. Work through that. You may not feel that connection at first, and you may feel very awkward at first. Again, something that I've lived through. When I've gone through my I'm not feeling it, we would attend a church for a while and then back out, and just the fear of showing back up to that church after I've been gone for a while kept me paralyzed from going. And I can tell you as a matter of fact that people don't care. When I was walking up to the front doors of that church, I just knew people were going to scream, hey, look at that, here come the Underhills after their long layoff. It never happened, and it's not going to happen. And as I tell a lot of folks, your mind is going to make things 10 times worse than what they actually are. So just plug in, go to that church, get into that community, get into that fellowship. Do not be a lone ranger through this. Connect with people, find groups that you can relate with. And just like the old saying goes, with a fire, there's hot coals in that fire. You take a hot coal, take it away from the fire, and it slowly burns out and slowly gets cold. You know what the cool thing is about that coal is? You take that dead, cold amber, take it, put it back on the fire, and just like that, it's heating back up again. And I'd say the same thing about you with that church community. If you have stepped away, you're still hot, ready to go. Plug yourself back in, and you'll be getting right there. I do want to talk about Ephesians chapter 4, verse 17 through 18. It says this, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, and I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power together with all the saints to grasp how wide and how long and how high and deep is the love of Christ. How cool is that? God has your back at all times. So always, always know that God has your back. If you do feel troubled walking into that new situation, just know that God has your back. Lift up your shoulders, look straight ahead, and I'll guarantee you're going to be blessed for it. Third thing that I want you to think about is if you're not feeling it, is you got to talk to God. You got to pray. And I want to talk about 1 Chronicles chapter 16, verse 11. Look to the Lord in his strength. Seek his face always. Be honest when you pray. Be transparent and be real. And if the word pray makes you feel like, don't know if I'm ready to do that, okay, then just talk. It's the same thing, but it's a little bit easier if you're having trouble making that relationship with God. God knows where you are. He wants that conversation to flow with you. 1 John chapter 5 verse 14 says this: "This is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us." It's pretty great stuff. Just open that conversation. And the big thing is again, with me, with prayer, I'm always afraid of what people are going to think about when I open my mouth and pray. You do not have to be that Hallmark card. How many of us have gone, when it's anniversary time, gone to buy a card that we want something specific for our spouse, and we go and we pick up that Hallmark card and we start to read it and we're like, there is no way this card is going to pass for what I talk like or what my wife knows that I am. And I just keep moving on and moving on. And I'm like, can't I just get a card that says, "I love you. Thanks for sticking around for me for 21 years. That's it. That's talking. God knows that. God knows your heart. He knows how you talk. He knows how you communicate. Just open up that communication and the blessings are going to start flowing. Talk and listen throughout the day. That's a big one. The more you talk, the better at listening and the better at recognizing God's presence you will become. And now back to that first point about those annoying Christians. You remember when we talked about that? The annoying Christians are always talking with God. They're always seeing God's presence. And you know what? They're not annoying. They are tuned in and tied in with a loving relationship with God. And when we think that annoying, that's on us. Because honestly, we want what they have. And if we start that communication, we start talking with God, building that relationship, before you know it, you're going to be thanking God for sunsets. You're going to be thanking God for green lights. You're going to be thanking God for just beautiful pictures and everything out there. And you're going to wake up one day and go, "Oh, I'm now that guy. I'm now that person." And it's a great feeling. Don't be afraid of that. Final verse here, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 18. "And pray in the Spirit on all occasions, with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the saints." So always be thinking of God. Always be talking. Don't be afraid to start that conversation. Don't be afraid to be honest and open. God already knows. God knows how you talk. Again, he just wants that relationship with you. So closing out I'm really not feeling it today. Just want to get 3 things back over to you again. Make sure that we're doing those 3 things if we're not feeling it. Okay, that first thing is you are enough. No matter what stage or season of life you're in, know that you will go through peaks and valleys, and always know that you're a 10. Do not let personal roles lead you to think any differently than that. Second thing, lean in. Set up a plan. Be intentional. Where will your time with God be spent? Know that ahead of time. Whenever you plan, you execute. If you plan to fail, you will fail. Okay? Study, read the Bible. Just be curious about God and you will find the answers. Plug in, find a community, and remember the great movie. It's all about baby steps, Bob. If you don't know that reference, I encourage you to go find that out. You can Google it. It's a great movie. But take those baby steps and get plugged in. Pray and talk. Spend time being open and honest. Don't worry about how. Don't worry about when. Don't worry about procedure. Don't worry about your posture. Just start talking. Everything else will take care of itself. And also, finally, know the bond between yourself and God is very strong. It may not feel very strong now, but if you go through those 3 steps, if you know that you're enough, if you lean into that relationship and you start talking with God, I can guarantee you, and he's even proven it. And this is what it says in Romans chapter 8, 38 through 39. "For I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God." How cool is that? Makes me want to get up, grab a football, and run through a wall for that. And that you can do that. And that is God backing you in everything that you do. So if you're not feeling like it, just go through those 3 steps and you'll absolutely be feeling it very shortly. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment. Please feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to help you out in anything that you may need.